Welcome to Raiders on the Record, the podcast featuring Hastings High School athletics. I'm Athletic Director Trent Hansen. My colleague Tim Hanneberg and I work together to bring you the stories of Raider sports. We are thrilled to share conversations with the athletes, coaches, and alumni that represent Raider Nation. Check back weekly and be sure to share this podcast with your friends in the Raiders Network.
Ian Pepple is a senior at Hastings High School and is a 2023 Raider graduate. During his time at Hastings High School, he has participated in football and wrestling. In football, he's a 2-year letter winner. In wrestling, Ian has been a captain during his senior year, is a 4-year letter winner, has been part of 4 state tournament teams, taking 6th last season, and is a 2-time individual state qualifier. Ian goes into great depth about his high school career and how injuries and setbacks have played a large role in his success as an athlete. Here we are with Ian Pepple. Ian, we always start at the beginning of someone's life, so let's hear about the beginning of your life. Did you always live in Hastings? Did you eventually move to Hastings? Let's hear about your mom, your dad, any brothers or sisters. So once again, let's hear about your life growing up.
Well, originally my family didn't live in Hastings, so my mom and dad are like immigrants, so they came from Nigeria and Cameroon. And my brother was also born in Nigeria. And then they came to the United States separately, but they met each other in Minnesota. And so eventually we used to live in like a Roseville area for a while, and then they had me. Then we moved to Hastings. It's like as soon as like literally the day I came out of the hospital, we came to Hastings. And then for a while we went back to Roseville for like maybe like 6 months. And we moved back here, so now we've been here the whole time. And so I have my mom, Rita, my dad, T.S., my older brother, Godswill, my older sister, Charlena, and then my other older sister, Cassidy, who like I don't really talk that much with, but like it's fun. I have a lot of family. So like I have a lot of family. It's like really big, like talking like 20, 30 aunts, uncles. It's a pretty big family.
That's great. The next thing we always like hearing about is the schools you attended here in Hastings. And you don't have to go through every single teacher you had, but if there was a certain teacher that had a really big impact on your life, let's hear about that teacher.
So first off, I went to Tilden when it was still a little preschool here in Hastings. And it was pretty fun. I think my teacher was Miss Larshine. I don't remember much from her. But I remember like eventually like second or third grade summer school, I saw her again. So it was pretty wild. So it was pretty nice seeing her. And then I eventually started in Pinecrest, and then I moved to Kennedy. And then from there, I had Miss, I think I can name all 4 of them. I had Miss Schmidt, who is now Miss Bachman, I think. I had Miss Mitchell. I don't know if she works here anymore. Then I had Miss, what's her name? She used to be a principal of the middle school. I forgot her name. And then 4th, I had Miss Novak, I'm pretty sure. I had Miss Novak. So those are pretty good teachers, especially because like they had my brother too, so it was a pretty good moment. Like I got to like make jokes at all of them. Like they always ask me how they're doing. And then after elementary school, I went to the middle school, and 5th grade I had Mr. Peterson and I forgot the other teacher's name. I just saw her sign a couple of days ago when I was in there. Mr. Peterson, he's probably one of my big impacts in middle school, because like I remember him had this like one big tough love moment. Like I got in trouble, he kind of like I got really yelled at, but like he gave me that tough love afterward, and like we had a cool relationship throughout like all of middle school. And then 6th grade, I had Miss Rowan, who I don't know if she teaches there anymore, but she's a pretty cool
she does,
teacher.
yep.
Oh, yep, she does. Yeah, she was a pretty cool teacher. Like me and her bonded over a lot of things, and like we had a bunch of talks about like what I was doing for summer, like vacations we wanted to go to. It was pretty fun. 7th grade, I had Mrs. I forgot her name. She's a math teacher, but she also gave me one of those tough love moments, because like I got in some trouble a lot more in 7th grade. So like me and her, we talked a lot, but she was overall a good teacher. I liked her. Like the atmosphere she created in the class was pretty fun. And then 8th grade, by far my favorite, I had Miss Michael that's one of my memorable teachers, Miss Michael, who like she was by far probably my most favorite teacher out of all of middle school, because like she was just funny. She's just a whole type of personality, and like she's someone I can relate to, and she understood me as a person too. And so I didn't see her. She eventually had to leave teaching due to like medical reasons. But I've seen her more recently. It's like she keeps up with my wrestling now and sports and everything. So just a nice blast from the past seeing her.
For sure. So right now you're at Hastings High School. Once again, you don't have to go through every single teacher you had for every class, but any teachers that really had a big impact on your life here at Hastings High School.
Hastings. So I guess one teacher who I had twice, once last year and then once my freshman year, was Mr. Welch. He's a pretty cool guy. He's younger than most teachers, so like we can have more like serious conversations, like stuff that topics we both relate about. So that's a pretty important teacher. There's Mr. Willette, Mr. Reuter, like they're all like history buffs, and like I'm a pretty big history buff. So I like looking at my history, and like they're like people I was able to talk to, especially Mr. Reuter. Me and him had a great connection from ninth grade due to like Avid and stuff like that. And he like keeps up with me even now. And like we have a bunch of conversations. There's Mr. Colvin, who I think everybody likes. He's a funny guy, big attitude, big personality, someone that everybody gets along with. And like he you can joke around with him, and like he makes fun of me a lot. I make fun of him. So he's a fun teacher. And then also it'd have to be Mr. Versland and Mr. Dressen. Like Mr. Verson, he's a chill teacher. He's very understanding, and like he's gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot, and so it's like someone who you can always talk to in that moment where like you just need a laugh, a joke, or like something even serious. And he's a little quirky sometimes with all his hunting stuff. So like that's what I like about him. And then lastly, it'd probably be Mr. Dressen, because like he's retired now, but like he's an old guy. He's been through a lot of life, a lot of wisdom out of him. And he actually gave me one of these books that I've been reading for a while now, and I love it. He gave it when he retired. Wonderful teacher. He has so much wisdom, and he's able to teach us stuff about life that I never really knew myself.
Perfect. Next thing we always like hearing about is the sports you played growing up. But before we get to that too, you talked about your dad, TS. Pretty cool sports background. If you want to talk about your dad, he was an Olympian. I'll let you tell the whole story too. And then if you want to talk about your dad, that'd be great. And then we can go into your life growing up, sports you played. I typically like stopping for you maybe right around 8th grade, right before you got to high school. So let's hear about your dad and his cool sports background. And then let's hear about your life growing up with sports.
Yeah. So my dad, TS, he was born in Nigeria, and he's a big track and soccer guy, but mainly track. And so he eventually qualified in Nigeria for the 1980 Olympics, I'm pretty sure. And I think was that in Moscow? That might have been in Moscow, I think. 1980 Olympics, and he was a 100-meter hurdler. So that's it's pretty big. I've seen a couple of his medals. He didn't medal, of course, but no, that's a big accomplishment being an Olympian. So that's pretty nice. Of course, I didn't really pick up after him. I don't really like track, honestly. I don't like running. One of my least favorite things, but like I still do it just to like stay in shape. Like as a kid growing up, I didn't really do a lot of sports like until I hit like 5th grade really. But like 5th grade, I started wrestling, of course, and that was only because like my brother started his 8th grade year, so that was like just something to try out. And of course, like I kind of got peer pressured into it because like all of his friends, I kind of followed them around. I was like to be around them, so they wrestled. So I was like, all right, let me wrestle. And then I kind of followed that all the way through 8th grade and into high school now. And then 7th grade, I didn't have the chance of playing little Raiders football through 5th grade, 6th grade. But 7th grade, I started playing football. Like I watched football all the time, and so this like I wasn't the best at it though. Like I still played it, just to be around my friends and everything. But it was still fun for me. I wasn't the best for the 2 years, but I still just worked hard. All of that.
For sure. Next thing we always like doing is going probably from your 9th grade year. We'll start in the fall, and we'll go through every single sports that you played from 9th grade to 10th to 11th and now to 12th. So starting off in that fall season of your 9th grade, let's hear about the sports you played. We also like hearing about any individual accomplishments. So if there's anything that you got maybe from being a captain, a leader on the football team, or other sports you played, let's hear about those individual accomplishments. And then any team accomplishments too, or anything else you would like to talk about the team. So if the team was a section champ, state qualifier, state place winner, let's hear about those things as well with your team. So once again, starting in the 9th grade fall season, and let's run through your high school history here.
Yep. So starting with 9th grade, I kind of just stuck with wrestling and football those 2 years that year, and so for football, which is in the fall, like I said, I wasn't really the best. Like I didn't work hard as much as I should have, which I do regret to this day. But it was like for me, it was more or less a learning experience because it's like I guess I was put more in the spot, not the spotlight, but like everybody, like there's no hiding in the background, more to say. And so like I had my moments where I did fumble a little bit, mess up, drop a couple balls. But it's like in the end, like I kind of picked myself up, and it was like a really big learning experience for me. I really liked it. Like the coaches I had, wonderful people, like people to this day who I still keep up with. They still keep up with me, ask me how I'm doing. And it's like great. It's like a great like growing experience and meeting new people. And then following that, we go into my wrestling, my ninth grade year wrestling. And like coming off an eighth grade year, like we have our big tournament, which is like, now that I look at it, it's not as serious as it was. But for us as eighth grade as it was. And like I was kind of bummed out how I like finished. And so I remember like all that summer, all that off season, I just worked out constantly. I like go to the high school every like day after school almost and just lift a couple of high school guys. And like that next year, I think in ninth grade, I didn't wrestle any JV, except for the start of the year. I didn't wrestle any JV or varsity until after Christmas. It was maybe like 3 duels. So I wrestled a lot in 9 years, also gone for family stuff because of Christmas. But like for me, that was a huge improvement for me. Like, cause like after that Christmas, like I just kind of things started hitting the ground and I just started going with it. Pretty proud of myself. And then eventually to the point where like, I didn't even think I'd even had the chance, but I was on the state team, like the section team. And I was like, this pretty big moment. I even got to wrestle in it was like the beginning first round. Yeah. I got to wrestle the first round of the section tournament for team. Pretty big, really big moment for me, honestly, because like showed a lot of improvement for me. And so I didn't get the rest in the finals, but I ended up going to state with a team after like a really, really, tight, close duel that really got my blood pressure rushing. And so it was a fun experience to have the guys. I still have like a newspaper and a picture of like me jumping up with teammates Creed and Aiden Erickson. So it was fun. And then that year we went to state. I got to wrestle in the state tournament, which was like for me, it was like an overwhelming experience because like I've never been on a stage that big. Like one memory I have is walking through the tunnel of I think it was the first round, against Shakopee. And like I just hear the noise, the lights everywhere, all the people. I was like, I was a little overwhelmed. There's a lot of people. And I was like, whoa, this is a pretty big experience. And like overall, even though I didn't get to wrestle individual, it was pretty fun to see all these like different people who some are graduated now, some I've wrestled with now and even become friends with, like see that like higher level of like wrestling, that level that like I'm at right now and I want to like further myself at. And so that was pretty fun. And then come later that year, COVID comes, everything kind of gets derailed. Like I was going to do more like off-season wrestling with like freestyle and Greco, but a lot of things just didn't turn out. Seasons, sports got canceled, everything. So I kind of like sat back and relaxed. I didn't really do a lot of work in that off season between 9th and 10th grade. And again, one thing I really regret a lot, because like I look at some of my teammates now who put a lot of work in. That off season, they came back that sophomore year even better than I was. It was like, wow, there's like a huge gap now. Like I kind of like let off the gas pedal a little too much, got a little too satisfied with where I was at. And so like that's one thing that I just look back as like I could have been even better if like I didn't let off the gas pedal. But then come my sophomore year, it was kind of a weird year for me because I didn't wrestle a lot of varsity or JV at all, really. I was kind of like, because one of our teammates, Nolan Myers, he got injured. And so I was kind of like in there for a while. I lost a lot of matches, won a couple. But it was like just kind of like it's a weird year for me. I didn't really get a lot of wrestling in because I was in between JV and varsity. But I still got some experiences, more with my teammates. And towards the end of the year, I think I remember it was after a duel we were at Goodhue, and then it was a Sunday after. So the next day, we had a wrestle off. I wrestled off Aiden Erickson. I just remember like in between, after my first match, I kind of like felt like a pop in my knee. I didn't think of it as anything. And then like come like Monday, Tuesday, I'm like, my knee's like swelling up a lot. And like, it's kind of hard for me to walk. And I'm like, oh God, this kind of hurts. And so I think from that next week we had section. So I wrestled through that. And I think by the time I hit section, there's a lot of pain there. Like I was like struggling to like walk and everything. So like I wore a knee pad and I kind of like just tightened it up a lot, like put a little tape underneath and everything. It's a lot of pain. And so then I had another week of helping one of my teammates, Rico, get ready for individual sections. And so that was even more for me. And I remember that I think it was either a Thursday or Friday. It was the Thursday before end of like super. I think was it not super sections, but it was the first section before super section. And I remember I was just like, God, I can't take this anymore. Cause like I was done. I was like, I'm so happy I'm done. I just can't take the pain anymore. Remember that day I was just limping so much. It just hurt so bad. And so I think I didn't go to the doctor for a while, but for eventually I found out I tore my meniscus in my right knee. So it was like a lateral meniscus tear, right meniscus tear. And so I was like, wow. I was a little surprised, a little down, like, because I had all these plans set up for like what after the season ended. Like, I thought it was just something small that'll be fine. And of course, it's kind of hard these days, like especially like to go in right away to get something checked out and repaired, or like surgery, MRI is really expensive. So I had to wait. So I didn't get my MRI until June. I'll say June, yeah, around early June-ish, or like early May or late May, somewhere around there. And I was like, well, they had told me that like my knee had been really messed up. Like there's a bunch of like cartilage since it'd been torn. There's like extra cartilage everywhere, so it's like really messy inside of there. And I just remember the experience, like, because I'd been hoping the whole time that it'd only be like one quick, easy surgery. And they told me that like during my surgery, like right before I went under, that either I'd be in a little band-aid for like 2 weeks, or I'd be in like a really big brace. And I mean, I'd be out for 6+ months. And I was really hoping it'd be the Band-Aid, because I had football coming up, and I was like, I don't want to miss out on football, because like that's something I became more interested in. And so I remember going under. I was a little nervous, but I still had hope. That's the one thing I had, was hope. And then I remember waking up. I was really out of it, drowsy and everything. And then I wake up, and like the first thing I do is look down at my leg. And then instead of the Band-Aid, there's a huge brace on there. And I was like, everything just kind of hit me all at once. And it was like a huge like realization, like, damn, everything just kind of just, that everything I had planned was just gone now. And so I remember going home that day. I was really quiet that day. I just kind of, after they got me home in the car and everything, I just went up to my room. I just sat on my bed the whole day. I was in pain, of course. And, I was just like trying to focus, not on the pain, but like just how everything just kind of got messed up. Like the what ifs and why didn't I, and like why me and everything. Like I put so much work in, like why does this have to happen to me now? I remember for like maybe a good week or so, week and a half, I was kind of just bummed. I didn't do anything. I didn't go out of my house for a while. Like I talked to people, but I didn't really do anything else. Like my brother, who also had a meniscus injury, but his was 2 weeks, he talked to me a while. This was nice for him to talk to me because I had somebody to relate to. So I really wasn't myself, I'd say, the person I am now at least. And I think one thing that really helped me like kind of stay in my mentality though was like, I remember the first week after I had surgery, I kept going to wrestling summer camp. I just kept going and going, kind of trying to make up for all that lost time, get that work in, because like I was bummed out, but I was like, I don't want to like just kind of lose everything I've worked for to this point. So I just kept working. And then eventually I ended up going to see family for like 2 weeks, because like I didn't have anything else to do, no sports. So it was like maybe just time for me to take a break and just see family and relax a little bit. And I liked it. It was very fun. I had some fun times. And by that time, I kind of started physical therapy. But after that, I really didn't do anything on those 2 weeks, just like workouts that they'd given me, just like stuff to help the healing. And so flash forward, once I come back, I think the next week, I'm like, I didn't bring my crutches with me on vacation. So I was kind of walking on my own the whole time. And so come flash forward, once I get back, I think the weekend of, I go to the doctor. They take the brace off of me. I'm fine. They gave me a new knee brace too. And so it's pretty functional. And so like I'm feeling better for myself, because like I'm making progress. Of course, I can't play football. So for me, football, instead of actually being able to play on the field, I was on the sidelines, more or less a manager, but I wasn't really a manager. It's more or less a player, but that's the only way I could like be with a team really. And so it's a humbling experience. Let's say less, because nobody, it's like water boy is kind of that position. Like nobody like wants to be there. Like it's a little embarrassing, like running to the middle of the field. But for me, it was pretty good because I remember our homecoming game. A lot of it was really good atmosphere. Everybody, all those people, everybody's there. I remember like we were pummeling this team. I think it was South St. Paul. I think it was. And like all of a sudden, I hear cheers in the crowd telling me to put me in, and like yelling my name and everything. And I just like I kind of like have a little tear because I'm a little thankful for these guys because like they kind of help lift my spirits and everything. Because that one year, like all that year, everything was kind of just like gone. I can't really get that back. I remember a lot of my games we'd have. I'd come home because I'd just be by myself because my parents wouldn't be home because my dad would travel a lot. My mom would be working, so it'd just be me. I kind of just sit there in the dark, kind of like looking into space, really. Like I was just sad because like I want to experience just more than just being the water boy. Just like I would experience being in the game, playing a sport I actually love. And it was like it's really like a life-changing experience for me. And so I think by December, I'm getting a little anxious because they're thinking that I can't, that I won't be able to get my my clearance from the doctor till like January, and like wrestling season starts soon, and I'm just hoping that I can get it soon. And eventually it does come, and everything goes great. Like I'm feeling no pain. I just kept working my ass off and just getting everything in there. And I remember my physical therapist was saying that I probably need one more week till I can probably start wrestling again. I should have listened to him because flash forward January, wrestling St. Thomas, and dude do some weird stuff with my knee, and I just feel like a weird pain. I'm like, wow, this hurts. And like for the first time ever in like my wrestling career, like high school at least, I actually sat out for a practice, which was like weird for me. I still worked out, but I didn't wrestle, which is like a weird experience because I've never sat out for a practice. So it was weird. But like everything up to that point, everything had been great. Like I felt great. My coaches, especially you especially, like they kept checking on me, one that needed to be healthy, and I felt it was healthy. And then after that, like it was a little weird, but I still went with it. I gave it some time to heal. But I remember one time, I think it might have been, it was our section. It was our section individual sections, and this is my first time ever being in individual sections. I've never been there before, and so like I breezed through all my first matches, and then like my finals match, it was just tough because I remember I got a takedown, but they didn't rule it a takedown, even though my feet looked in, but you couldn't really tell, I guess. And I was like, wow, this is going to be tiring. And so I think he got taken down. He took me down. And I kind of have a habit for getting taken down first, then taking them down. It's a bad habit. I've tried getting rid of it. But I remember like, wow, this is going to be tiring. And the whole match, I'm down. I think the score is like 5-3, 5-2, somewhere around there. Eventually, he gets called for stalling. And I'm like, all right, can you keep this going? And then eventually, I get him in a cradle. And it should have been like three. It should have been three near fall, but it was two. But it was whatever to me. And I remember the whole time I was riding him out towards the end in the third period. I was like, I just got to hold on. And then I hear that. I see the clock hit 0. I'm just like, finally, I did it. It was a pretty big moment for me. And so I was like, finally did this. This is something like I've actually been looking forward to this year. I want to be like I remember one of my coaches said this, like, it's kind of my moment. It's not somebody else's moment. It was my moment. Like, not take it from other people. Don't let them take it from you type of mentality. And I was just really in that. It was like, I felt really happy in that moment. And my teammates, we celebrated after. It was fun. We ate a little too much, I would say, but we got that off. And for me, that was pretty important. And then the state tournament comes, and it was like, for me, I haven't been there in a while because we had like a weird super section kind of look with like the state tournament being the round after section finals. But for me, I felt like I look back at it, I'm like, I was a little overwhelmed and like scared. like that first round, because like I remember one of my coaches, Coach McClay, he came up to me talking about how after my match, I was like, I wasn't who I usually am. Like I wasn't really dangerous like I usually am in a match, and like I wasn't myself, and like I need to like refocus and everything. Like, don't be scared about anything. And I remember I was like just down because like we had such high expectations for that year to at least reach the final, at least reach semifinals, and like that didn't happen. We came up short than we wanted to, even taking 6, which was like a big surprise for us. But I feel like that was a pretty big moment for me. I remember the tears, like I was just crying because I was like, I felt like I let the team down and I let myself down. But it was like, it's a moment I got over. I was like, I need to get over this because I've individual the next day. So I was like, whatever happens, like there's always next year, but like it would have been good to have it that year. And so flash forward to individual sections. It was, I was I was very nervous. This was my first time wrestling that. There's a lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot more people than team sections. And I just remember my first match, I was feeling a little like jitterous, nervous. My coach just tried to talk me down, but I was a little nervous just being on that stage. And I came up short. I think I lost 5-3, 5-2, somewhere around there. Of course, like I look back, I could have beaten the kid and everything. I was just a little too tense. I should have relaxed more. And so it was. I remember that whole experience of being there. I was in the tunnel most of the time, unlike years past, where I like be on the top watching the matches. I'd be in the tunnel watching like all these other wrestlers warm up, what they do. I'd watch the matches from inside the tunnel as well, help my teammates warm up, and like it was a pretty like humbling experience as well, because like everybody dreams of being on top until like stuff hits the fan, and then you're just like there watching. Nobody wants to be a spectator, really. And so it was like really good for me to watch those people, because like I knew what I had to do to get to the next level, like how these people prepare themselves, how hard like they work their work ethic. And like seeing my teammates like Rico and Skylar and Blake, these guys who are great, of course, and they place, and like that's something I want to do. So it's like something like I'm envious of them a little bit, but I'm like, these are my teammates, and like I want to strive to be like them. So that's a pretty important part of my life. And then we come now I feel like that off season I put a lot of work in. Like I remember there's like weeks where I just go, not a lot of like school, not a lot of home, but I was like just work ethic, wrestling, workout, lift, everything. And I know eventually to that point, I got selected for junior duels. I went to Fargo. I met so many like different people I never knew I'd meet. I watched different type of wrestling. Like I remember a funny story, like this guy from Iowa who just wrestled in the finals down there for state, like Nate Nactaborg, Tate Nactaborgan. And I've seen him like how hard he wrestled, and like I remember I wrestled him during junior duels down in Tulsa, and he just completely bombed me. Like he just dragged me. And I was like, wow. And like seeing that level of wrestling, it's like that's where I want to be at. Like I still have so much more potential, and like I can work so much more harder. And like coming in this season, I had a rough start, but like I finally got stuff moving, and like I feel better than I did. I feel like myself more. So it's like it's been a pretty good experience.
For sure. Real quick, let's touch on senior football here too. So that season got done a little bit of time ago, but we kind of forgot to talk about that too. So you had that injury your junior year, didn't get to play football your junior year, and then we roll around the senior year as well. So let's touch on that one real quick before we move on here.
No problem. So senior football, I'm kind of like a little out of it because I wasn't there for most of the summer stuff because of wrestling, of course. And so I'm a little like unsure about everything because I debated like, do I really want to do it? But in the end, I decided, yeah, why not? And so I'm thinking I'm gonna go for like my regular positions like cornerback and receiver, but I wasn't there a lot, and so they ended up moving me to defensive line, D tackle. And so it's a pretty like weird experience for me because like I'm a big guy, but I'm not that big. I'm just big height wise. Mm-hmm. So like, going against these like 200 plus guys who are way bigger than me, it was a pretty weird experience for me. But like I'm happy I did because like I met new people. Honestly, like people I wouldn't talk to normally, like a lot of linemen. And it was a fun experience for me because like I found it's a position that I found out myself I was way better at, and something I actually liked. Like learned a completely different aspect of football and like kind of that do your job type of method. It's a pretty good experience, of course. Like we had our ups and downs. Like I could have done better in some situations. I did do good in some. And I remember one moment, it was like a scrimmage, and this is my first time actually like playing, like I guess playing against another team as DN. And like we had one moment where it's like we got a little chippy, and like I kind of like was chirping at a kid, and I kind of regret it. But one of my coaches, Will Van Duzer, kind of came up to me, just went off on me, and he was telling me like, because he was pointing at my chest where like we had the Raiders symbol on, Raiders, and he was telling me like if it was what was it? He was telling me that this is who I play for, not Ian Pepple. This is who I play for. Kind of got me into that team mentality, put the team ahead of yourself. So I really like that. But we also came short our season. A lot of setbacks, injuries, just other stuff, and we eventually came coming up short against a team we'll beat, which is really weird for us. I didn't think I'd be that emotional because like I wasn't really that connected as compared to wrestling. But it was a pretty emotional moment, like for me, and being with my teammates and a couple of other coaches there. So it was a really emotional moment. But
For sure. Hey, so thinking about that knee injury, so yeah, talked about tearing your meniscus. When I think about injuries, I always try to think about if anyone learned anything from it. Did that injury teach you anything? Did you make any improvements in any other areas of your life? So thinking about that with your knee too. So did you learn anything from it? Did it teach you anything? Did you make other improvements, other areas of your life? What do you think that kind of injury taught you in your life?
Mm-hmm. Well, I felt like the injury really it taught me that I can't really take anything for granted. Like anything can be given and taken you like a snap of a finger, and that's what happened to me, of course. And it's like that really just makes me like I feel like this is like for everybody. Give this to everybody that like you should never take those opportunities for granted because like you never know how long you're gonna have them. Because like for me, flash forward, it's my senior year. I've only really wrestled. I would say freshman, sophomore, and then that off season kind of area was kind of weird. And then football for me was like I was really excited for everything, and then it just gone. It's really a humbling experience of being injured though, because it puts you in a position you never thought you would ever be in before. Like nobody likes injuries, of course. Just puts you in a completely different uh position and perspective of like how do I go from here now? Like I have to take like extra precautions now because this could happen again. Like in the back of my head, like I feel healthy now, but in the back of my head, it's always like I can always get injured again. Like I'm more likely to get injured, but it's like I don't fear it, but like I have to like perform differently because of it. And it's like with me, I have to take more, I have to like listen to my body more. Like I remember before I just be all go, like I wouldn't care about like pain and everything. Like it's just it's a mindset, and it is a mindset, but like at times you do have to listen to your body because like your mind and body are two different things, but like sometimes you actually have to listen to your body and like actually like don't push yourself more than you have to because like you always have to look at the bigger picture.
For sure. So you're a senior right now. If you want to talk about if you have any plans for next year, post high school, any college plans, major picked out, anything along those lines. So let's hear about that pretty quick.
Well, right now I'm going into school for nursing, so my plan is to go for a bachelor's and then for a master's eventually. And I want to be a nurse practitioner or something along the lines. And so right now I'm leaning on two colleges right now. Mostly like my two colleges are Concordia and Moorhead and UW Eau Claire, but it's more or less UW Eau Claire. It's like that type of environment. I just love it, and they're a really good wrestling program. So that's something great. I want to continue wrestling in college, and even if I possible, even be after that.
Awesome. So Mr. Hanson is our AD here at Hastings High School, and one thing he likes to ask us coaches is why do we coach? So kind of turn that around on you, Ian. Think about you. You play football and you wrestle. Why do you play sports, and why is sports such a pivotal thing in your life?
Well, for me, I play sports because the connections I make with people. Because like for me, a sport isn't really fun if you don't have people to do it with. Like those connections I make with my friends and my coaches, I build like new relationships and those kind of things that just they last past the sport, they last past school, like things that are lifelong. And like that's just something I love. Like I also love being able to like make connections with younger people, especially because like I can give them knowledge and wisdom that I feel like will help them like and be better than I was and like improve like help them improve their life instead of having to learn like the hard way I did. It's like it's a pretty good aspect, I feel like.
For sure. You talked about a lot of great moments so far in your sports career here at Hastings High School. If you look back and maybe pick a favorite moment from being a Raider athlete, what do you think that moment would be?
The favorite moment would have to be, there's a lot of them.
Mhm.
I guess one that really stands out that I always talk about is ninth grade section finals. Uh, it was I forgot the score was, but it was tied, and we were down at our heavyweight match and against Woodbury, and it was Brady. One of my teammates,
Brady Schiller, yep.
Brady Schiller, and we're going up against. He's going against their heavyweight, and it's not their number. It's not their better heavyweight, but the guy was pretty good. And Brady's a little down in the match, and he goes for big throw, and like this for us, this was like a big duel because the year before my brother's year, we didn't go to state because just a lot of surprises and against Eastridge. And so like this kind of like big for us because our team has always like been expected to make it a state. So like we never go 2 years in a row without making it a state. And he goes for big throw and catches the kid and he pins him. I just remember like the atmosphere of the whole gym because it wasn't even like the win itself or us going to states like that. It felt like the whole town was there. It was so loud. I just remember I go sometimes like occasionally if I'm bored, I'll go back and just watch that video because it's like you had to be there to like experience it. Like there's nothing better than that first time. Like a video, like the video doesn't capture all of it, but like being there in that moment is just like wow. Like everybody's like emotions. Like I remember we're like people were crying. Like it was tears of happiness. We just couldn't believe it because like something that kind of looked a little far out of reach was like we just had it there.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that moment too. It was one of my favorite ones too, as a coach as well. And it's kind of cool this time of year on Facebook. Those Facebook memories always pop up, and then right around this time of the year, all the pictures pop up from that night too. So pretty neat deal. And it was exactly like you described it. We were down, kind of just kept on clawing back, and then sealed it off at the end there. So it was a pretty neat deal. So again, Ian, Mr. Hansen, our AD, always likes to ask us coaches about success and how we define success. So once again, turning that around on you, how would you define success, especially when it comes to sports?
Well, I define success as like winning, but not as much. I feel like success is really like what you learn from it, because like you can. I know a lot of people they've won, but they haven't learned anything from it. I feel like success is really when you're down, when you're not winning, when you're down. It's like how do you bounce back? How do you get yourself in the right mindset? How do you make something from nothing? It's like that's really successful because like I feel like a lot of these days people do so great. They do good, and then as soon as they hit that one roadblock, they kind of just shut down. And like I feel like it's better. The more successful person hits roadblock after roadblock, but they still like keep picking themselves up every time. Like I remember, I remember this one quote. It was I forgot who it was by. It might have been was it Denzel Washington? Maybe it was if you can't run, you walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, you got to keep getting up. And so that was a pretty big like quote for me because like if you can't do one thing, just do what you can. Just don't give up. That's the biggest part of it. Don't give up.
I love it. You played football and you wrestled so far at Hastings High School. You've had a lot of coaches so far that've coached you during your time at Hastings. I know it's probably an impossible question to answer, but looking back, who do you think maybe the best coach is that's really taught you something that's really had a big impact on your life? So once again, you've played a couple different sports. You could pick a couple different coaches if you like.
I guess from football, one coach I probably like connected more with was Will Van Duzer, because like he was a coach for me in wrestling in middle school, and also he's also my coach in high school for football. And so he's a pretty big influence because like he's a huge work ethic guy, and like always like doing what's right. Like he always gave me like these like speeches about like always doing what's right, and no matter who's watching or if anybody is at all. And like he held himself to a certain class. Like even when he messed up, he held himself to a certain standard. And he apologized for when he didn't hold himself to that. And it's like someone like that coach, like especially because he just had a daughter. If he was to a daughter, he completely changed his life from what he's told us. And it's like that type of coach who always teaches you to do the best. Like no matter if you're winning, losing, if you're up or the other person's up, or if you're down, always do what's right. That's the one thing in life. Like if the one thing we have in life is morals, we got to stick by those. He's a really big guy with that, and I'm really thankful for him for that. And then for wrestling, I'd say Mr. Coach Paul Veit, really big impact for me because like he's an older guy. He's a I have to call him an old head, but like he's like comes with respect and like wisdom because like he's done so much, and I feel like he's like he's made an atmosphere of this of our program. Like it's not really a team, it's more or less a family. Like we never break down on Hastings on 3, Raiders on 3. We always break down on family. So that's a pretty big important part he's built, and like he makes everybody feel like welcome. Like he's the nicest person you'll meet. Like he's rarely angry unless like we actually deserve it, but like he's like the nicest person you'll ever meet. And someone like him who's like taught me, like who's been there for me in my lows and been there for me in my highs. I remember like he's always like so proud of me when like I do good, like at Bi-State and the class. He's very proud of me. I was like, that's something that just hit hard in my heart.
Awesome. Now thinking about the guys that you've played with. So once again, football and wrestling. Who do you think one of the best teammates is that you've played with? You could define this in multiple different ways, and I always define it in many different ways here on the podcast. But I'll let you define it too. So who do you think that best teammate is in your life?
I'll say the best teammate is actually from football. His name is Ben Witt. He graduated last year. He wasn't really my teammate until like last year, 2 years ago. But like I met him in 8th grade, and I've known him ever since. Cause when I used to work out all the time at high school, he'd always be there with me, like him and his little buddies. They'd always be pushing me to like be better, and like people who've always given me tips and everything always help me out. And like for me, having those type of people is like amazing. Like somebody like especially when I'm just starting to take like wrestling seriously, football seriously, like having those people who are like pushing me, not bringing me down, but like keeping me up even when I'm failing. And like they had that mentality of like criticizing me, but like it was like constructive. So I was like learning from it. Like it was a wonderful experience. And then another teammate would probably be Paul Kendall, who I only had him for my 9th grade year when I was in 9U. No, in 8th grade when I was in 9U. And like for me, he was my whole life. I've known him for pretty much my whole life. He's pretty big impact. Like he's always been someone. He's the person who got me in the sport. He's the person who like kept me in the sport. And he's someone who like I was like felt like he's more than just a friend. He's more or less family. Like his whole family to me is like I love them all as people. And I just felt like he's like a brother almost, and like someone I can get close to. And he's taught me the values of wrestling, taught me the value of like being a good person, that type of athlete. And I kind of look up to him at a point. That's why I want to be for like younger people.
Right on. So last question from this area too that I always like asking is about an opponent or a certain tournament that you always like looking forward to every single year. So I really like this one because when I interview alumni, it kind of changes throughout the year and it changes per sport too. So if you could look back on football, if you want to pick an opponent for football or an event for football, an opponent for wrestling or an event for wrestling, that'd be great. So what's an opponent or event that you always look forward to going to or playing in or playing against every single year?
Well, one for football would be probably playing St. Thomas because they're a big rival. Private school, public school type of rivalry, and like they have a lot of good guys. Like I mind myself comparing myself to them. Like they're way better than I'll say. A lot of the guys are way better than me, but like just like being able to go against a tough opponent like that and like still like keep clawing and not giving up. I remember especially this year when I played more. I had a couple of guys came up to me after the game, a couple of old line guys. They're like, because I had a little like dinky helmet and everybody else had these better ones because I was a little late for equipment check pickup. And these guys were just like, why are you wearing that dinky helmet, man? You deserve a way better one, like your dog and everything. And I was like, thanks, guys. I was like, it was really like hit me in the gut right there because like these guys complimenting me now, like boosting my mentality, boosting my self-esteem. Like I am that good. Like the position I started this year, I'm pretty good at it. And like just they kind of push me to go harder, push me to be better, type of thing. Of course, we don't really get chippy as like classy, but it's like they're a pretty good team. And then for wrestling, I wouldn't say I have a specific tournament. Like one tournament would probably be the Christmas tournament because that's when the whole state of Minnesota comes together. There's a lot of guys, good guys there. I just love seeing a lot of people there, like, because I love wrestling good guys, like, even if I win or lose, because, like, being able to, like, be on that level and, like, see where I'm at, kind of, gauge my skill set, gauge everything. But, like, especially after my junior year in the offseason when I did a lot of wrestling, freestyle Greco, there's, like, I wouldn't say I have a specific person, but, like, a specific, like, group of people, like, a bunch of them who I saw during the Christmas tournament, like, all these people who, like, kind of like opened my eyes. Like, there's a lot more to wrestling. There's a lot, like, there's always going to be someone better. And, like, I just look forward to wrestling these guys, like, from St. Michael, like Jed Wester, North Ferguson, guys who I met during the offseason and wrestled. Like, love wrestling them. There's Leo Tokanovich from Shakopee, Adam Cherney from Wyzetta, a whole bunch of guys, even like Colehan Lindmeyer from Farmington. Like, all these other guys, like, wrestling these guys is like crazy experience. And even in Fargo too, like, national tournament, people from all 50 states almost. And it's like there's just so much competition, so much more people. Like, you get to see so much different looks, and I love it.
Awesome. Last couple questions for you, Ian. We always end the podcast with a couple pieces of advice for parents, coaches, and student athletes. So the first group that we focus on is parents and coaches. Looking back on your 4 years of high school playing football and wrestling, if you had to give parents and coaches just a few pieces of advice, what do you think would be and why?
I guess for parents, I'd give them the advice probably and believe or invest in your kids, because, like, a lot of kids these days, like, I feel like parents kind of push them a little too far, push them a little too less to, like, be where they're at. Because, like, of course, it's like the parents' duty to let a kid do what they want, but, like, I feel like it's also a parent's duty to, like, push your kid a little bit. Because, like, my parents, of course, like, they don't have really a lot of time to push me. They don't have time at all, really. They're always like, because they have stuff to do, work, business, and stuff. So I never really had my parents who were really invested in my sports and stuff. But, like, I feel like it's good for other people just to have your parents when they're invested. Like, as a kid, you do better when your parents show up. It's like it shows that you care for one, but also, like, helps your kids, like, feel like you're proud of them. In some sense, like, they can show you what they're made of in front of you. Like, people always show out in front of certain people, and, like, when your parents are there, it's like a different experience for you. And
that's great. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Keep going here.
You're great. And then for coaches, I'd say I see this more now this year with a lot of people. Like, it's kind of don't ruin a sport for a kid, because, like, especially these days, a lot of kids quit sports because of a certain coach, and it's like I kind of hate to see it, because, like, I know a lot of my friends who grew up with a lot of sports through elementary school, middle school, now high school. Now they're quitting senior years, junior years, and it's just kind of sucky thing to see that, like, somebody, like, just kind of takes your love of that sport away. And that's one thing I love about our program. Like, you don't really take the love away from the sport. Like, it's an amazing aspect. I just hate to see it, though. Like, it's just tough to see people quit sports more and more.
For sure. Now thinking about younger student athletes, so these could be the kids coming to Todd Field to watch you play football. These kids could be the young student athletes coming to the gym to watch you wrestle. If you had to give them a couple pieces of advice, what do you think it would be and why?
One would probably be, like, anything is really possible. Anything is possible. Like, there's no reason to give up on yourself. Don't think that you can't be the person on the big stage. Like, everybody has their moments, including yourself. So it's like, believe in yourself, invest in yourself. Like, don't count yourself out before you even started. Just have a good work ethic, and just go hard every day and, like, visualize your dream. Because, like, everyone, like, especially with, like, football and everybody just keeps, like, everyone's a spectator and not thinking that could be them. But it's like you don't have to be a spectator. That could be you. Like, that could be you making that big play, or that could be you stopping the big play. Anything. And it's like, don't count yourself out, never, because you never know. That could be anyone. That could be you. And, like, another piece of advice is, I guess, have fun. Because it's always good to take a sport seriously, but if you're hanging on the bad stuff and not, like, smiling a little bit, then it's not really a good sport for you to be in, or just be in a sport at all. Because, like, sports, they're meant to be serious, meant to succeed and just be great, but, like, it's also about having fun. I feel like, that's why we joined this sport as a kid, to have fun with your friends. So it's always good to have that, look back and just keep that mentality, just having fun no matter what happens, just keeping your head up.
Awesome. Ian, that's all the questions I got for you tonight.
Yep, sounds
The
great.
last thing that we always end with is just turn the microphone over to our guests. So anything that you would like to add in, anything I forgot to ask you, any other shout outs you want to give, like I said, the microphone is yours and you can go for it.
Shout outs. I guess shout out to one of my buddies, Aiden Erickson. He's great work ethic. He's all about staying healthy, staying fit, staying just keeping his body in the top shape and being performing at his greatest level. Shout out to him and all his food advice, his Instagram, the official Kennedy Cooks 69. I don't know if that's still his tag, but you can look for it. And a shout out to Josh Rout, Blake Beisel, Rico Cooper, Aaron Vanderhoff, all my buddies over there in high school, people I've just grown up with the whole life. Shout out to the Kendall, my brother, who's been a big aspect of my life, like pushed me to be better than him, be best as I can. Who even got me into sports, really. That's all I really have to say for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Ian.
No problem.